Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Allison Mack made her way into a Brooklyn courthouse where she tearfully pleaded guilty to racketeering charges for her role in a sensational case involving a group whose leader has been accused of sex trafficking.
I can't form a rapport with my audience.
That's Keith Raniere, the head of NXIVM, which billed itself as a self-help group. He's explaining his philosophy on acting to Mack, who previously starred in the show Smallville. Her role in NXIVM was much different.
It's the most challenging thing I've ever done because
she was part of its secretive inner sorority, which, according to prosecutors, was part pyramid scheme, part sex cult.
My name is Ben Shemkes. Back in 2007, when I was at Southern Connecticut State University, there was a strange party that I went to with my girlfriend at the time and one of her friends. Her friend was studying at the Yale Library, where she was approached by 3 blonde women. They told her that it was a women's empowerment movement party and bring a friend if she liked. She immediately went to her friend, who I had been dating. This is how I got invited to the party. And it was basically like a sorority party to start out with. They had some cocktails. I remember that the girls were specifically upset that one of the special guests, because they were all expecting Kristen Crook to come, but apparently they said that Kristen Crook wasn't a part of NXIVM. And so the guest was going to be Allison Mack, and then a special guest, Stormy Daniels. The host says Stormy Daniels is an adult film star. I say, oh, like a porn star. They say, no. You don't call her that when she's here. She's an adult film star. We get through 2 episodes of Smallville. That's when guests started showing up. First of all, we have Allison Mack coming through the door with Keith Raniere. I'm talking with Keith for a second. He gets into his whole idea about how he's training females to babysit children, that he's going to train the women to teach the children a multiple different languages. I think he mentioned 7 different languages. So I'm on the back porch, and the sliding door opens up, and out comes this blonde girl with a big black bodyguard, and she introduces herself. She says her name is Stormy Daniels. All of a sudden the sliding glass door opens up and Allison Mack pokes her head out. She looks at Stormy and says, "We're about to start." And then Mack looks at me and the bodyguard and says, "This is the girls' only part of the party." And then she slowly shuts the sliding door. When she called the girls together, she yells out, "All right, bitches," blah, 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 something or other to get them all together. And all these girls came up in front of her into the living room. The girls spend, I think, maybe about 2 minutes each on the computers. I don't know what was on the videos. I was told later that it was a bunch of snuff videos. This is only speculation. The reason I think that she was so nervous was, I think that was the night that she was getting branded, and they were using her as a demonstration model for the rest of the Yale girls to watch. I noticed that some other people had showed up to the party. I'm looking around the room and I see this guy. He introduces himself as James. I identify this man as James Alephantis. I have a quick conversation with him. He mentions he has a DC pizza restaurant in DC. As we're talking, there's other people that are kind of filtering in. And I noticed a middle-aged man. This man introduced himself as Eric Schneiderman. Some more guests filter in. One of them was a skinny guy. He's a nervous guy who talked really fast, had a deep New York accent. And this guy introduces himself as Anthony Weiner. Points across the room at a Middle Eastern looking woman, and he says, "That's Uma, that's my wife." He had mentioned how he was into politics and how he had just come up from New York. Uma seemed a little bit mad that he was late. She was there with a little bit of a female entourage. There was about 3 or 4 females that were with her. I noticed that there was a mean librarian-looking woman who was mixing drinks. I was able to identify her as Nancy Salzman. And then she asked if I had met the Bronfmans. The Bronfmans, by the way, were across the room sitting on a couch. One of them was writing something with a marker on a poster board. But it was Claire and Sarah Bronfman. I speak with them for a second. They don't seem at all interested in me, so I just figured that they were just, either dirty, hippie, liberal girls or just some lesbians or something like that. They didn't feign any interest whatsoever in talking to me. I went back out on the back porch and then talked with my ex-girlfriend, or my girlfriend at the time. We were kind of gearing up. We were saying, hey, this thing's all weird. It definitely wasn't selling any weed or getting along really well with any of the Yale girls or anything. And then these guests that are hanging out mixing, the state senator and all these other pizza restaurant owner from DC, all these people, we met them, we talked with them. That was it. I think the special part about this was I got to witness an accused sex cult working in unison with politicians.
Is your first name Ben? Yeah. Did you attend the Nexium Recruitment Party Mixer in Connecticut in 2007? Yes. Were Stormy Daniels, James Adonis, Umar Abedin, and Eric Schneiderman and Anthony Weiner there at that Nexium Recruitment Party Mixer in Connecticut in 2007? Yes. Were you aware that their snuff videos were broadcast at the NXIVM recruitment party mixer in Connecticut in 2007? Yes. Were you informed that NXIVM mixer in Connecticut in 2007, the real NXIVM parties were held upon occasion at the private island of Richard Branson? I'll keep them, and I can put together a report that says just that, what I just repeated as far as the questions, his answers, and whether or not, in my opinion, he was being truthful or not. Well, what we're going to put down is truthful in all 4 questions, so, in my opinion.
A few years ago, NXIVM attended a fundraiser for Hillary Clinton and reserved 3 VIP tables for themselves at the front of the event. Among the people sitting at the table was Kirsten Gillibrand, the Democratic senator whose father was in NXIVM, and was also sued by the group after trying to distance himself from their association. Next to her was Nancy Salzman, the co-founder of NXIVM, who was arrested on racketeering charges, and whose daughter, Laura Salzman, was also later arrested for the same crime. At Nancy Salzman's sentencing, victims described the NXIVM president as Ranieri's fiercely loyal enabler and enforcer. They said she turned a blind eye to his worst atrocities, and parroted his theories, including his claims that children are perfectly happy having sex with adults, and that women experience freedom during rape. Claire Bronfman illegally funneled thousands of dollars into Hillary Clinton's campaign in an attempt to buy influence. Claire is the daughter of billionaire Edgar Bronfman, who is the president of the World Jewish Congress. Claire Bronfman was born into one of the most prominent families in modern-day history. She had the means to live any way she wanted and anywhere she wanted. But of all the paths she could have taken, we do need to wonder why. The path she chose led her to prison after her leadership role in mind control sex cult NXIVM.
Heiress to the Seagram's fortune will spend the next 7 years behind bars for her role in the NXIVM sex cult case. She was sentenced today after pleading guilty to identity theft and immigration offenses.
Keith Raniere asked his NXIVM followers to call him Vanguard. a name inspired by his favourite arcade game as a child, in which the main character, Vanguard, increased in power at the destruction of his enemies. An important point to note was almost half of Keith Ranieri's closest associates were Mexican. The list included Emiliano Salinas, son of former Mexican President Carlos Salinas, and Rosa Laura Junco, whose family owns one of Mexico's most influential newspaper groups. Before cult leader Ranieri's arrest, Mac surpassed longtime harem members and assumed the role of the late Pamela Kafritz as chief procurer of women. Kafritz died in 2016, purportedly of renal cancer. She was the daughter of Washington, D.C. socialites Bill and Buffy Kafritz. It was allegedly Kafritz's bank account that Ranieri used after she died. There was around $8 million on deposit. Pizzagate's James Alefantis is a board advisor for Transformer Art Gallery. Transformer Art Gallery is supported by the Morris and Gwendolyn Kafritz Foundation, which is run by Calvin Kafritz, the brother of Pamela Kafritz, who Mac took over from in NXIVM. Transformer also organized the Podesta brothers' art viewings. Calvin Kafritz is mentioned in John Podesta's hacked emails, where it said he attended a private function hosted by the Podestas. As a rising leader of Ranieri's harem, Mac helped create DOS, Dominus Obsequious Sororium, a women's group where hot iron branding and collection of blackmail-worthy material were used to keep women from leaving the group. Before her death, Kafritz ran Jeunesse, a women's organization she co-founded with Ranieri and supported Ranieri's household. After Kafritz died, Mac assumed leadership of Jeunesse. Then she formed DOS and lived with or near Ranieri until his arrest. Since Mac assumed control, Jeunesse evolved into a training ground and recruitment camp for women who might qualify for DOS. The cream of Jeunesse women were invited into DOS, and the cream of DOS were invited to join Ranieri's harem, subject to his approval, of course. Most harem members were asked to accept Mac as their master, second in command to Ranieri. There were long-time harem members who were grandmothered in and not required to pledge obedience to Mac. Some of those even had their own slaves. Alison Mack reformed the model Kafritz employed, where Kafritz considered herself a servant to the women she procured for Ranieri. Mack made herself the domina of the slave women. Mack's structure was based on a 666 model. She had 6 top slaves, who in turn each had to get themselves 6 slaves, and each of those 6 were required to get 6 more slaves, and so on. Here we see tweets from Alison Mack trying to recruit other celebrities into the sex cult. Billionaire Richard Branson also had ties to this disturbing cult, in which young underage victims were literally branded with hot iron as property of the cult. Richard Branson, the founder of Virgin Atlantic, hosted a NXIVM event on his Necker Island, which is close to Epstein's Island, Little St. James, and is very close to the island of Haiti. Present on the island for the event was Mac, Claire Bronfman, Emiliano Salinas, and another individual connected to the Dalai Lama. Eve Branson, Branson's mother, was a member of the board of directors of the International Center for Missing and Exploited Children, the goal of which is to help find missing children and to stop the exploitation of children. Richard Branson, whose details were in Epstein's little black book, publicly promoted Ghislaine Maxwell's Terramar, which we can see in this tweet. Oh, and look at this. Alison Mack also seemed to be a fan of Marina Abramovich, the spirit-cooking witch from Pizzagate, as evidenced in this tweet.
The organization ran several executive success programs which people had to sign up for to gain entry. The ESPs were marketed as a set of development courses that helped participants overcome their fears and anxieties and hence gain their full potential in life. These programs came at a steep price. The cost of a 5-day intensive course was $5,000. But the price most participants ended up paying was emotional and physical torture. For days, the participants would live together in a commune-like housing facility for each program. At the beginning of each session, they would read aloud and follow a mission statement which asked them to reject victimhood. Rainier, who overlooked most of the sessions, was hailed as a godlike figure and had to be greeted with a kiss on the mouth. The female participants were then blindfolded and branded with the symbol of Keith Rainier's initials. The emotionally vulnerable ones were sent to a highly secret women's society and served as sex slaves for Rainier. They were punished with starvation if they refused, subjected to abuse and extortion if they threatened to leave. This barbaric cult functioned like this for 2 decades without being caught. Between 1998 and 2018, over 16,000 people completed courses at its centers in the US, Canada, and Mexico.
This trial has revealed that Raniere, who portrayed himself as a savant and a genius, was in fact a master manipulator, a con man, and the crime boss of a cult-like organization.
Most of its top members have now been convicted for getting teenagers caught in this cult. The conviction of Alison Mack is the most high-profile yet. She has called it a horrific chapter of her life and expressed remorse at her actions. But one of her victims says she doesn't feel any remorse from her.
She's a monster and a sociopath, and she has created so much harm for me, her victims, and so many people involved. And I do pray that one day she can see the light, but I don't think that was today.
At least 3 NXIVM top members were also Clinton Global Initiative members. Most of us have likely heard about the donations from NXIVM members to the Clinton presidential campaign, but there haven't been a lot of details released about that. So let's look at some more of the ties between the Clintons and NXIVM. We see this article says, a purported pyramid scheme operator who was run out of Arkansas when Bill Clinton was governor has reinvented himself as the head of an upstate group accused of being a cult, and his devotees have pumped thousands into Hillary Rodham Clinton's presidential run. Executives and top associates of the Albany-based NXIVM group, along with their family members, donated $29,900 to Clinton's presidential campaign, according to federal records. But there are things about these specific donors that are not common knowledge today, despite being reported in 2007. On March 14th and April 13th, records show more than a dozen contributions poured into Clinton's coffers from NXIVM, an executive and group awareness training organization led by Brooklyn-born Keith Raniere. Most were from first-time political donors, each giving the $2,300 maximum. So, let's think about this. Why on earth would first-time political donors pledge the maximum amount? For a group to donate to a specific candidate, that candidate has their specific interests in mind, one would assume. If first-time political donors are giving $2,300, the maximum, they would have to believe that the candidate must be someone who really holds their interests at heart. I don't think that's a bad assumption at all. Let us look at some of the more high-profile donors. But let's not forget the Slick Willie Bill Clinton connection. If anyone is buying that NXIVM and the Clintons are just casual acquaintances who happen to be connected by some political donations, I would disagree. There is a long-standing pattern here. Hillary isn't the only Clinton NXIVM officials were attracted to. At least 3 of them, Group President Nancy Salzman and the Bronfman sisters, are members of Bill's charitable organization, the Clinton Global Initiative. Membership is by invitation only and requires at least a $15,000 donation per person per year. So, NXIVM members poured tens of thousands of dollars into Clinton campaigns and organizations. And those are the dollars that we know of and are on the record. The Bronfmans who funded the elite sex cult NXIVM also tried to help in the takeover of the country of Libya. Bassett Igtet, the high-living Muslim married to Jewish liquor heiress Sarah Bronfman, held a rally on September 25, 2017, in Tripoli to try to overthrow the government of Libya. Igtet's plan was to use Facebook and social media to rally tens of thousands of the poor of Tripoli to take to the streets and eventually join with radical Muslim militants waiting outside the city. This is the same colour revolution tactic the Deep State have used in the Arab Spring and also in the 2014 CIA-sponsored coup of Ukraine with the Azov Nazis. Once the forces converged and vanquished the United Nations-backed Libyan government, Igtet wanted to be installed as president. It is said that Bronfman went to her vanguard to ask him to teach her husband. Raniere agreed and set the stage for his demonstration at Martyrs Square, planning the entire event for Igtet, assuring him that as the smartest man in the world, it would work out wondrously well. While Igtit wanted to rule Libya, he had no desire to spend time in the country. The plan failed when barely anyone appeared at the rally at Martyrs Square in Tripoli. One can note the irony of Igtit trying to install himself as president through using violence of fundamentalist Muslims while funded by his Jewish wife, and heiress of the Seagram's liquor fortune, as fundamentalist Muslims do not drink alcohol and many aren't the biggest fans of the Jewish people. The NXIVM sex cult's operation of various Rainbow Cultural Garden daycare centres has come under intense scrutiny following cult leader Keith Ranieri's conviction. The Rainbow Cultural Garden's human experiments on children in Albany came to light courtesy of NXIVM whistleblower Frank Parlato and the state of Florida, who stepped in to shut down the Rainbow Cultural Garden in Miami. The Cultural Garden is overseen by Hillary Clinton donor Claire Bronfman. Here we also see that singer MIA has accused the Bronfman family of kidnapping her child she has with Ben Bronfman, the former CEO of Warner Brothers Music, in a custody battle. I also wanted to circle back to a certain Stormy Daniels, who we heard earlier was branded by Alison Mack. So, Stormy Daniels was obviously a NXIVM Clinton-run operation to try to target President Trump in 2016. But we all know that if you go up against Trump, you are stepping in quicksand.
Not only the attorney who represents Stormy Daniels, he's Donald Trump's worst nightmare. Michael Avenatti.
This dude right here, I think of him as in a Justice League with Robert Mueller to save our democracy.
Michael Avenatti's a genius. He just got the president to weigh in on Stormy Daniels.
The Democrats could learn something for you. You are messing with Trump a lot more than they are.
Today, he has no doubt created sheer panic in Donald Trump's very fragile mind.
Existential threat to the Trump presidency.
Photographed by celebrity photographer Annie Leibovitz and gracing the pages of high fashion's Bible Vogue magazine. You know, you point out what makes her an effective foe of Trump's is that she's sort of unhumiliatable. You can't humiliate her. Why is she's sort of this perfect adversary?
Is there something you know now, which we will know soon, that could bring down this presidency?
I say that we have yes, there's stuff that I know, and I would say it's 50-50 shot.
Yeah, I do think that Trump is afraid of you.
Let's be honest, the whole reason that we're in love with you and Stormy is because we think you guys are the tip of the spear that's going to take down Donald Trump.
A federal judge has just sentenced attorney Michael Avenatti to 4 years in prison for stealing $300,000 from adult film star Stormy Daniels.
How do people respond to you?
Bedtimes,
you all sleep in one bed?
They think we're crazy. Yes, we do all sleep in one bed. And actually, we didn't used to. There's the photo up.
That's... Do you get any sleep? How do you get alone time with your husband?
Well, we have lots of bedrooms.
Meet Kim Constable, leader of Rainbow Cultural Garden in Ireland. Kim was a NXIVM member who seemed to be very close to convicted child trafficker Alison Mack. She is best known as the Sculpted Vegan, and she sells online bodybuilding courses and even has a course on becoming a millionaire. Kim Constable is a long-time devotee of Keith Ranieri's revolutionary teachings for children, and she works closely with Sarah Bronfman, the leader of Rainbow in the United Kingdom. 7 different nannies would spend time with the children each day and speak 7 different languages, rendering the children illiterate, confused, and permanently intellectually damaged. She purged these photos from her Instagram when online researchers connected her school to NXIVM, but as we all know, the internet never forgets. Was Constable trying to hide the fact that the accused sex trafficker Alison Mack is somehow involved with the Rainbow Cultural Garden? Was the purge of the photos an effort to insulate Kim Constable's Rainbow Cultural Garden from the coming sex trafficking charges? I wonder, was Kim Constable branded by Mac? So now you know NXIVM was a sex cult involved in trafficking. How do you feel about them operating 11 daycare centres, especially when the trafficking of children has been intimated?
So telling us why radical unschooling works for her, please welcome Kim Constable. Like I say, we've heard the whole thing about homeschooling, and Nadia does it, and we hear about how well that's been going. This is taking the concept to a whole different level, really, giving children complete control. There will be mums and dads up and down the country throwing their arms in the air at horror at this idea. Tell me how it works for you.
Well, basically our children just live a life of complete and utter freedom. We live by principles, we always say, rather than living by rules. It's a very traditional, it's not a traditional, it flips traditional parenting on its head, rather than how I was raised and how probably all of us were raised, which is a very kind of authoritarian way. I'm the parent, you're the child, you do as I say.
Yeah.
We don't live that way. We say, well, we live as partners. So my children I see as my friends. I treat them like I would my friends or like I would my husband. And we live in complete and utter partnership with them. They have freedom to say yes, and they have freedom to say no to anything that I suggest or anything that I want them to do. They have complete autonomy over their own lives.
How old are your kids, first of all?
They're very young. The eldest is 9, and then the second is 8, and then the 2 youngest ones are 5 and 3. I wasn't always like this, and I suppose that's where I'm coming from. I wasn't always like this. I was a very traditional, authoritarian parent, and I was brought up very traditionally. I went to boarding school myself, and I started a few years ago to work on myself. And I began to, I got involved with a company in America called Executive Success Programs, and that really helped me to become more self-aware. So I began to change my viewpoint of how I was with my life. And then whenever the kids came along, I wanted to parent them in a way that was very peaceful and very humanitarian, very compassionate. But I found that really hard to do when I wasn't controlling them. I didn't want to control them, I didn't want to punish them. But it's very hard to get kids to do.
That to me is the key. If you never discipline your children, you're going to have a relationship with them where they don't understand the boundaries, and so that you're going to have problems that, I mean, I don't have problems with my children. I don't have problems getting them to school. I don't have problems. I've taught them good manners. They know I'm their mum. And I tell them off when necessary. Now, when your children get into the big bad world, there is a society out there, and there are rules and regulations to society.
It's true.
Some boss is going to tell them off. How are they going to react to that? How are they going to join society like the rest of us do if they've not had that experience?
Here, Kim is trying to promote the idea that there are no parents and there are no kids, which is the same nonsense we see throughout our society today, confusing people to think that men can be women and women can be men.
little credit. You're gonna give me my fucking money back.
Excuse me, sir. There's a young man in here. And your
I
wife
apologize, but excuse me, it's ma'am.
I'm sorry.
It is ma'am.
I can call the police if you'd like me to. You need to settle down.
You need to settle down and mind your business, okay?
Both of you guys?
Ma'am, once again, ma'am.
I said both of you.
No, you said sir. Once again, it's ma'am.
I actually said both of you guys. It was general.
Right beforehand, you fucking said sir.
Sir? Okay.
Motherfucker, take it outside. If you want to call me sir again, I will show you a fucking sir.
I apologize.
Motherfucker.
I apologize now.
I need your corporate number because I'm going to call them and talk about how I was misgendered several times in this store.
I apologize for that.
I need your corporate number now.
I can get that for you if you like. That's not a problem.
Get it for me now.
I can do that. I'm going to ask you to calm down and stop cussing.
Give me your corporate number. Well, I'm going to ask you for the 5th time to stop calling me a man because quite clearly I am not.
The Marxists who have hijacked our world want to invert everything traditional so that eventually there are no strong families and children are owned by the state. They know that strong informed families with strong role models make strong people who are not easily controlled. They will continue to try to dilute the traditional family unit with their flowery new age language until the people become educated about how sinister and generational their agendas are. Kim might be too stupid to understand that what she learnt from Keith Raniere was part of a satanic ideology of do what thou wilt. No investigation of NXIVM will be complete until all the Rainbow Cultural Garden centres around the world are thoroughly investigated. This was one of the most unexpected twists in the tales connected to Jeffrey Epstein and the billionaire network that also feeds into the NXIVM human trafficking cult. There is a patent that was filed by Keith Raniere for technology that identifies and rehabilitates Luciferians. He describes Luciferians as being dysfunctional people who are dangerous and for whom bad feels good and good feels bad. This seems to partially explain why Dr. Brandon Porter, who worked with NXIVM, was reported to have been showing women images of serious crimes, including dismemberment of a woman with machetes. Was this part of an MK Ultra style brainwashing program, or was this an attempt to cover up his own Luciferianism? The NXIVM case shows us that these sinister cults do exist and are used to further the Cabal's Luciferian doctrine through infiltration, manipulation, and refined methods of mind control. Keith Raniere was eventually arrested in Mexico after authorities tracked down his location.
Let's go in the car. We're gonna follow them. Get out of the way. Huh? Lauren's coming. Let's go, you guys.
He was sentenced to 120 years in prison. We also see that Alison Mack has been mentioned in some of Q's posts. In an example of future proves past, Q posted about her plea deal 3 days before it happened. On April 20th, the night she was arrested, Q posted that she was naming names, But it wasn't until April 23rd that it came out that she was actually negotiating a plea deal. Q Post 1203, April 20th, 2018. Mac is naming names. Big names in Hollywood, government, local and federal. Proof: The Standard Hotel. Helicopter crash. All related. Future will prove past. Adam Schiff. Feeling okay today? Why is the Mexican border, Long Beach port, so important? TikTok, LLC, Q. Q Post 1368, May 14th, 2018. Alison Mack, Nexium, arrested. Date: When does a bird sing? Schneiderman resigns. Date: Coincidence. Eyes wide open. Who will be next? Watch New York. Watch California. Q. Q has also said that someone called Rachel Chandler is 100 times worse than Alison Mack. So that leads us to our next question. Who is Rachel Chandler?
I'm living in a kind of daydream. I'm happy as a king, and foolish though it may seem to me, that's everything.
Democrats who don't
All right,
know what
while
they're
we're
doing.
denouncing, let me ask you about QAnon. It is this theory that Democrats are a satanic pedophile ring and that you are the savior of that. Now, can you just once and for all state that that is completely not true and that disavow QAnon in its entirety?
I know nothing about QAnon.
I just told you.
I know very little. You told me, but what you tell me doesn't necessarily make it fact. I hate to say that. I know nothing about it. I do know they are very much against pedophilia. They fight it very hard, but I know nothing about it.
They believe it is
if
a
you'd like
satanic
me
cult
to
run by the deep
study
state.
the subject, I'll tell you what I do know about. I know about Antifa, and I know about the radical left, and I know how violent they are and how vicious they are, and I know how they're burning down cities run by Democrats, not run by Republicans.
Republican Senator Ben Sass said, quote, QAnon is nuts, and real leaders call conspiracy theories conspiracy theories.
He may be
Why not
right.
just say it's
Can I be
crazy and
honest?
not true?
He may be right. I just don't know about QAnon.
You do know.
I don't know. No, I don't know. I don't know.
Let me ask you another thing.
Let's waste a whole show. You start off with white supremacy, I denounce it. You start off with something else. Let's go. Keep asking me these questions.
I do have one more in this vein.
Let me just tell you, what I do hear about it is they are very strongly against pedophilia. And I agree with that. I mean, I do agree with that, and I agree with it very
But there's not a
strongly.
satanic pedophile cult
no
being run
idea.
by.
I know
You
nothing
don't
about
know
that.
Okay.
No, I don't know
you
that.
You just
and
this
neither
week.
do you know that.
Okay.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist.
human trafficking is now the fastest growing industry in the world. In order for us to bring in the light, we must first walk into the darkness. Humanity itself is at stake here. So, let's begin. Rachel Ray Chandler Guinness was born in 1988, but her origins are fairly hidden and information is scarce. However, she is the daughter of the Chandler family that owned the Los Angeles Times. The family is divested of the paper today, and not as powerful or prominent in LA high society as they used to be, but up through the 1980s they were super powerful. Not much is known about her parents, but Rachel is definitely a part of the LA-based Hollywood rich and famous. There has been a lot of evidence to show that she was also raised in the world of child trafficking. It seems like the name Chandler could indeed be used as a code word for child handler. Rachel graduated in 2005 from the Brentwood School in Los Angeles. Her first job was at the Standard Hotel, which has plenty of rumors of sinister happenings. She married Tom Guinness in 2012, who is a well-known stylist in the United Kingdom.
There are no wires connecting your heart to your head and your hands, so where should you start? There are no satellites guiding you home, so careful as you tread in this carnival of souls. Don't let your blood run cold. This is not a city that wants to forgive. This is the place where the cold hearts live, feeding off your friends and fighting out late. Everybody wants it, but nobody waits. Don't let your blood run cold. And turning into a lifetime, sitting alone on a park bench, just like a lifetime. Closer than I ever dreamt, a
There's also a tangential Rothschilds connection here, by the way. The Guinness family has close ties to the Rothschild family. Amschel Mayor James Rothschild married Anita Patience Guinness and worked for N.M. Rothschild and Sons before killing himself in 1996. His son is James Rothschild, Nikki Hilton's husband. Rachel Chandler is good friends with Paris and Nikki Hilton. Rachel Chandler had 2 weddings. Their first wedding was a family-only affair held in Los Angeles, California. Vogue covered both weddings, her standard wedding in LA for her family, and her shamanic wedding in the United Kingdom for her friends. It has been speculated that Chandler started out as a child sex slave working at the Standard Hotel. She would partake in Purple Night in the Boom Boom Room at the Standard Hotel. It is interesting to note that purple is the colour representative of mind control, but I'm not sure if that is relevant in this case. I just thought I'd mention it. So with her connections, she was able to fund her photography and DJ careers before establishing the Midland Agency. Meet Walter Pierce. The Midland Agency was co-founded by Rachel Chandler and Walter Pierce in September of 2016. Walter Pierce himself was taken in by an internship at the age of 14 for the DIS magazine. Guess who Walter Pierce is friends with? Well, you might remember Beth from episode 5, Pizzagate. Here we see that Beth appears on Instagram with Walt. What a small world it is! Or is it that these people are all connected as they're in a multi-generational Luciferian death cult? The agency is publicly known as a casting and modeling agency based out of New York. They search for young talent, but the Midland agency really seems to be a front that is used to attract new children and teens into the world of child trafficking, where they can then be delivered into the cult. So let's have a look at some of the pictures from Walt's Instagram. Rachel Chandler was also a photographer and casting agent at modeling agency MC². We see in this high fashion W magazine 16 models to watch according to Rachel Chandler. Picture number 4 and picture number 13 says the models are from MC². So, who do you think donated large sums of money through MC²? Who had children trafficked to them from MC²? None other than Jeffrey Epstein.
I have spent the last 17 years in my own prison for what she, Jeffrey, and all the co-conspirators did to me. I was raped repeatedly. I was raped 3 times a day sometimes. And I was not the only girl on that island. There was a constant stream of girls being raped over and over and over again. And yes, Ghislaine must die in prison because I've been in hell and back for the last 17 years.
And 27 for me.
I was 10 years old when Liz Stein was being trafficked. I was 10. That is how long the sex trafficking ring has been going on for.
MC² was Epstein's underage model procurement agency, founded by Jean-Luc Brunel. Brunel scored US passports for girls as young as 12 years of age, then passed the minors off to pervy pals like Epstein. The court documents stated he supplied Jeffrey Epstein with underage girls for an orgy with Prince Andrew. According to a complaint filed in the United States District Court for the Southern District of Florida, Epstein used the agency to lure underage prey. In those court documents, one alleged victim accused the billionaire of deliberately engaging in a pattern of racketeering that involved luring minor children through MC², mostly girls under the age of 17, to engage in sexual play for money.
He was a close confidant of convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein and a former French modeling agent facing charges of his own. Tonight, Jean-Luc Brunel is dead, found in his Paris prison cell hanged with his bed sheets, according to the Paris prosecutor's office. Authorities believe the 75-year-old died by suicide. It comes less than 3 years after Epstein was found dead in a Manhattan prison under similar circumstances. His death has been ruled a suicide. Brunel was awaiting trial after several former models accused him of rape and sexual harassment when they were minors.
What he was accused of in the context of his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein was using his position as a modeling scout to lure women to be abused by Epstein and by himself.
In a statement, Brunel's lawyers maintained their client's innocence, writing in part, his decision was not driven by guilt, but by a deep sense of injustice. It's the latest twist in the sprawling saga of Jeffrey Epstein, coming just days after Prince Andrew, another Epstein associate, settled a sexual abuse lawsuit against him without admitting wrongdoing. And in December, Ghislaine Maxwell was convicted of luring young girls to be abused by Epstein. She has requested a new trial. Tonight, Maxwell's brother calls this latest death in the Epstein orbit incomprehensible.
Do you fear for your sister's safety?
Yeah, I certainly do. I'm not a conspiracy theory person, but if you were a conspiracy theory person, obviously you would say, well, you know, these things happen in threes, and no doubt Ghislaine is going to be taken out for whatever fantasy reason people seem to think about.
The offices for MC² in New York are smack in the middle of prime real estate at the northern edge of Manhattan's Greenwich Village neighborhood. The agency also claims to have international offices in Miami and as far away as Tel Aviv. This becomes a common theme in the fashion, art, and entertainment industries. We saw in the State Department section in Part 1 that there are laws in place banning the inspection of shipping containers containing live art. Children that are shipped to or from North America can become labelled as living art, allowing for child trafficking on a global scale. Rachel Chandler's activity in that casting agency seems to have much deeper connections to the Clinton Foundation than anyone knows. Not unlike NXIVM, but seemingly on a much larger scale. Thus, Rachel Chandler is a link piece connecting several evil people, all interlinked in high-level politics, entertainment, and media. MC² modeling agency is all wrapped up in Epstein scandals, and now it's connected to none other than Rachel Chandler, who we see here pictured with none other than Bill Clinton. And let's not forget who said he was the founder of the Clinton Foundation. The man himself, Jeffrey Epstein. Rachel Chandler and Bill Clinton had this photo taken on a private plane, allegedly owned by Jeffrey Epstein, the Lolita Express. Bill travelled to Epstein's island roughly 26 times. The Clintons are not the only ones with connections to Chandler. Celebrities like Eminem, P. Diddy and others have also been seen with the underaged Chandler. As a madame, she blackmailed several high-level people across the globe. Many can be found in Epstein's little black book, Chandler is so well connected that she even has ties to the royal family, such as Prince Andrew. The Instagram account belonging to Rachel Chandler was quickly hidden around the same time the Pizzagate story broke. Luckily, anonymous users scoured through her page and took screenshots before that happened. Now, let's take a look at pictures unearthed from Rachel Chandler's Tumblr and Instagram accounts. Remember, Q stated that Rachel Chandler is 100 times worse than Alison Mack. The account is most known for the security camera images from underneath the temple on Little St. James Island. Look at this post from Rachel. Is Rachel Chandler's real mom the co-founder of NXIVM, Nancy Salzman? Here we see photos of children from Rachel's Instagram, including 2 mimicking a satanic ritual. Furthermore, Ray, or Rachel Chandler as she's confusingly known, has also been tied to numerous art events hosted by Spirit Cooking Marina Abramovich throughout the years.
¡Satánica fuera! ¡Fuera satánico! En el nombre del Padre, del Hijo y del Espíritu Santo. ¡Fuera Satán! ¡Fuera Satán! ¡Fuera Satán! ¡Lacayos! ¡Lacayos! ¡Fuera Satán! ¡Fuera Satán!
Rachel was a photographer and an attendee at Marina Abramovich's 2010 The Artist is Present performance, where Marina gave a very controversial performance that involved a kind of a pseudo-ritualized cannibalism of the female body. Marina was introduced to the world in a viral video about her meeting an ex from years ago. This elite coven was exposed by WikiLeaks right before the 2016 United States election, when emails from Clinton campaign manager John Podesta were leaked, and internet sleuths and anons found weird food-orientated code words that made no sense at all, such as Obama spending $65,000 on hot dogs and pizza for a late-night party at the White House. The Podesta emails also showed that Hillary said she would sacrifice a chicken to the satanic god Moloch. We also found out that Clinton and the Podestas attended private spirit cooking events with Marina Abramovich and friends. For those that are unaware, spirit cooking refers to a sacrament in the religion of Thelema, and involves an occult performance where individuals use menstrual blood, breast milk, urine and sperm in a satanic ritual. Abramovich worked with Jacob Samuel to produce a cookbook of aphrodisiac recipes called Spirit Cooking in 1996. These recipes were meant to be evocative instructions for actions or for thoughts. For example, one of the recipes calls for 13,000 grams of jealousy, while another says to mix fresh breast milk with fresh sperm milk. The work was inspired by the popular belief that ghosts feed off intangible things like light, sound, and emotions.
On Wednesday evening, the Israeli and Ukrainian presidents gathered for an official ceremony for the unveiling of a new interactive memorial, Crystal Wall of Crying, by world-renowned performance artist Marina Abramovic.
Abramovich is known for her often gory art that confronts pain and ritual. Her first performance involved repeatedly stabbing herself in her hands. The next performance featured her throwing her nails, toenails and hair into a flaming 5-point star, which she eventually jumped inside of, causing her to lose consciousness. She acts as a kind of a spiritual advisor to many of the Hollywood elites, including John Podesta, Hillary Clinton, Gwen Stefani, Jared Leto, Robert De Niro, Kim Kardashian, Jay-Z, and her prized pupil Lady Gaga. Marina was 76 years old in November 2022. I wonder how she stays so young looking.
And police pointed a gun at a woman's head and tried to force her into his van. Inside, a metal cage.
He was wearing a dark-colored hoodie-style sweatshirt and jeans. Now, the van is described as a full-size van, white, with no windows on the side. It also had a California license plate, and as you said, Sarah, the most disturbing thing is a possible black cage within that van.
Two boys said that when they were on their way home from school, a man in a white van asked them to come to the van and come to him. Of course, they did the right thing and yelled and got out of there as quick as they could.
Fox 2's Paul Shankman is live in Rock Hill to explain why they want everyone in that area watching out for one particular white van.
Beside him at the curb, the sliding door opened in the back and a white male yelled, "Get in."
That unsettling report comes from an 11-year-old boy who says there were actually 3 men in that van when it pulled up next to him near the intersection of North Rock Hill Road and Euclid. The boy immediately took off running for 3 blocks until he got to school.
Told the principal what happened and she called the cops.
Within a couple hours, a recorded message was sent to the parents of Lawrence Elementary students. Quote, "A white van was parked on the side of the road. The girls walked on and the van followed them. The girls became nervous and returned to school. We called the police, who are now investigating."
And then it was just scary because the very next day is when the other little girl came up missing.
1, 2, 3, 4! 8-year-old Demetrius Madison is smiling and laughing once again, but just over 24 hours ago, he was nearly kidnapped by 4 men in a black van who approached him at the Alameda Park Apartments.
Extra air. This air? It's like this, like all this? I didn't even see that. I don't even know what all this is. It should look like a bomb or some shit. This is, I don't know, this right here. I think it's a joke. That's like the door. I think this unlocked the door. I want to close y'all in here and see. No, don't close me in here. Yeah, I'm going to open it. I just want to see, knock on it so we can see, can you hear? I will. Climb out, Alicia. Let her do it. She ain't scared of him. Close the door. She from Texas with the same something. Knock. Hold on. Knock. Say something. Scream. Open the door, tell her scream. You can't hear her knocking. You can hear it a little bit, but barely. She said scream. Close it and scream. Do it again. Oh, hell no. You can't even hear it. Y'all screaming. Hell no. You can't even hear that shit. It's crazy. Because ain't no telling what they done rolled. The only thing you can see visible is that hill. Yeah, and them little scratches. That's it. Little hand marks. Look on the roof. Look at all them scratches up there. Look. I don't even know what that say. That shit look like blood and everything. No, don't say that word. It do. Alright.
Rachel is also friends with Oliver Zahm. Oliver Zahm works with Jeff Koons. Now, let's look at another sexual predator. No, not that kind of sexual predator. This kind of sexual predator. Terry Richardson. Oliver Zahm is friends with music video director Terry Richardson, who works with artists such as Miley Cyrus and directed her infamous Wrecking Ball video. The very public transformation from Disney family-orientated Hannah Montana to this new Miley Cyrus has a huge effect on the subconscious mind of young women who grew up watching her and think that how Miley acts now is almost natural, normal, and a sane way for a young woman to act. This is just another way in how Disney are grooming young children. Terry Richardson is well known to be a total sleazebag, and I think that old saying of birds of a feather flock together is appropriate with these pictures of pervert Terry and the $65,000 pizza and hot dog ex-president Barack Hussein Obama. Rachel is the primary photographer for an artist named Terence Coe, who frequently collaborates with Marina Abramovich and who is also friends with Oliver Zahm. And here we see that Rachel took this picture of Marina. Here are some photos I found of Lady Gaga that were taken by, guess who? Of course, Rachel Chandler. We also see here that Rachel posted a picture of drag kid Desmond is Amazing. Desmond has been at the centre of controversy after there was public outcry when an alarming video was released of him dancing like a stripper on stage late at night at a gay bar whilst the people who attended threw money at him. As we can see here, Desmond's parents are also okay with him hanging out with renowned degenerate 90s socialite Michael Ailig, who was sent to prison for chopping up his drug dealer and throwing him in the river. The website of Michael Ailig is rife with the same sick paedophilic images we have seen in Pizzagate, and also lots of weird references to the date rape drug Rohypnol.
Welcome to the pew. This is the Desmond is Amazing episode.
Our special guest, the amazing Desmond, all the way from Brooklyn. Drove through rush hour traffic to get here. Hot tea. It's 9:40 p.m. and he doesn't have to go to school tomorrow.
Well, we should explain to the viewers who Desmond is. Desmond is the world's youngest club kid, and we challenge you as the viewer out there to find a younger club kid. Will they find one? No. Now, those 37 members, are they all 37 young club kids like you? Or you don't know? Just regular drag kids. Oh, well, how old are they? Are they as young as you are, Desmond? There's only two that's younger. Are they encroaching upon your youth?
Michael Ailig is a notorious murderer who they made several documentaries and movies about. One of them was called Party Monster and had Macaulay Culkin in the main role. Macaulay Culkin was said to also have been involved with this cult by deceased actor turned whistleblower Isaac Cappy. Like Macaulay Culkin, Desmond has had no choice in what has happened to him as a child. There's also a clip where Desmond randomly starts talking about people snorting ketamine off couches, which is a very specific example, and he goes on to mimic the act of snorting ketamine. Now, why would a child even know what ketamine is to start with? These people are sick. This is child abuse and the parents need to be arrested. It would not surprise me if they were in this cult.
Desmond has been sent into gay clubs to dance for money. That's a real thing. This child in drag has danced at gay clubs at night while grown adult gay men throw money at him on stage. He's appeared in videos with adult gay men where he pantomimes snorting ketamine off of his hand, something that no 11-year-old should know how to do or be aware of. Just for reference, here's that moment.
Anyone can do drag. Everyone can do drag.
Everyone can.
Your mom can do drag. What has this world come to? It's come to a world where drag kids actually exist.
And people do ketamine on a couch. And people do ketamine on a couch.
Yeah, so he's so that's during some kind of Facebook Live or something, and he's done a lot of these where he appears with adult cross-dressing men, and very often in the videos he appears to be on drugs.
People need to understand that there are millions of people in the United States and all around the world that are born into and are part of this ancient multi-generational Luciferian death cult. For many years, Epstein flew the world's elite, including Bill and Hillary Clinton, on junkets to his private island. The flight logs support the testimony of Virginia Roberts Giuffre, who said she was trafficked to business titans, heads of state, and Prince Andrew. Virginia Roberts Giuffre was Epstein's underage sex slave for many years. Here we see that she mentioned Epstein had a room she called the dungeon. How the deep state conduct their human trafficking has been a huge subject that Q and the Anons has brought into the light. We have seen since Pizzagate how effective open source investigation is.
We have an army of digital soldiers.
Q told us that Epstein spent $29 million burying the tunnels underneath the temple, but phones were allowed in and people took pictures. Then Q began dropping photos of people connected with Epstein, like this one of Bill Clinton and Rachel Chandler, who was likely a minor when the photo was taken. The implication from Q is that Ray Chandler is a child handler who specializes in trafficking underage models. The next related drop of information took us to the public photo on Chandler's Instagram. According to Q, it shows night 3 on Epstein's island. This image is a close-up of the security camera 10, which appears to be people, some have suggested naked, sitting on overturned buckets or stools, eating something. Q suggested that one such figure in these photos is H. On March 19, 2019, the drop included a link to Epstein's flight manifests, followed by, "This is not just about sex trafficking. 1. Will the rich and powerful influence the court to prevent the unsealing? The tale of 2. 1. Sex resort, non-temple resort only. Trafficked and drugged underage girls. 2. Occult, worship of evil, temple, class 1 to 99. Haiti, pray for the victims. Q. On July 25th, immediately after Epstein's first suicide attempt, Q linked to a story in USA Today about Epstein's offer to mortgage his $77 million mansion in order to get bail. It was turned down by the judge. Q wrote, "Does a person who fights hard for bail, then appeals the original decision, attempt to overturn, attempt suicide prior to the ruling of the appeal? Logical thinking. Q."
Ghislaine Maxwell has been sentenced to 20 years in prison over sex trafficking offences. The British socialite was convicted back in December for helping Jeffrey Epstein sexually abuse 4 girls between the years 1994 and 2004. One of the victims, Annie Farmer, was at court today. Welcome that decision.
I just hope that this sentence can be another sign that voices are coming together and saying no more. If you commit these crimes, you will be punished. If you facilitate these crimes, you will be punished. If you are a bystander that looks the other way, you will not be allowed to continue to hold a position of power.
Maxwell spoke in court ahead of her sentencing, saying, "I am sorry for the pain that you experienced. I hope my conviction and harsh incarceration brings you pleasure." But this provided no comfort to the victims.
Her statement felt like a very hollow apology to me. She did not take responsibility for the crimes that she committed, and it felt like once more her trying to do something to benefit her and not at all about the harm that she had caused.
Things stand at the moment, Ghislaine Maxwell, who's 60 years old, she'd be 80 before she's released from prison.
Q Post 3396, July the 9th, 2019. In relation to the Bill Clinton and Rachel Chandler Epstein plane picture, did the FBI or Department of Justice interview Rachel Chandler? When did public awareness grow across social media? Class 1 to 99. What age is Rachel Chandler in the picture? Under the age of 18? 15. Who posted the picture? Rachel Chandler. Who posted internal security camera pictures from the temple on Instagram? Untouchable mindset by all involved. Blackmail. Power. Top-down protection. Plane plus temple plus XYZ pictures equals witness. Witness plus class 1 to 99. Why did Rachel Chandler start or form a modeling talent agency? Why was Rachel Chandler and Epstein and the M Temple highlighted in the past? Dark to light. These people are sick. Q. What high-profile elite people fund and provide Rachel with her photography studio? What is the studio used for? What is the studio really used for? Who has Rachel Chandler been pictured with? This goes far beyond spirit cooking models. Q. Q Post 3136, March the 20th, 2019. How many girls were waiting for their return to the boat? Who owned the boat? What does a handler procure? Is the handler one of many? Connected to Epstein, flight logs reveal many hidden artifacts. Rachel Chandler. Q. Q Post 3401, July the 9th, 2019. Welcome to Epstein Island. Ask yourself, is this normal? What does a temple typically symbolize? What does an owl symbolize? Dark religion? Tunnels underneath? How many channels captured on Rachel Chandler's picture? Rooms indicate size. Hallways shown. Class 1 to 99. Symbolism will be their downfall. These people are evil. Q.
Let's go.
So let's recap some of the confirmed information related to Epstein and Rachel Chandler from the drops by Q. Special Counsel Robert Mueller from the Russia collusion investigation was also tasked with protecting Epstein, who was a liability to many. Q Post 3473, July 24th, 2019. There are puppets. There are puppet masters. Which is Mueller? Attempt to replace James Comey as FBI director failed. Attempt to regain FBI control. Plot and plan. Backup. To initiate special counsel to safeguard against criminal prosecution in relation to illegal and criminal actions. Special counsel equals blockade. Special counsel equals loss of FBI command, control, safeguard. Department of Justice depends on what agency for investigating criminal actions. Mueller, Uranium One. Mueller, Epstein, Berry and cover-up. Mueller, plot to remove duly elected POTUS. Biggest scandal in American history. Treason. 2019, Year of the Boomerang. Q. The models trafficked by the Midland Agency were targeted based on being loners, depressed, insecure, and from poorer families unable to fight back. The media has been trying to help cover up the details about Epstein's Island. For example, the temple was said to be a music room or gym, and yet inside the temple was a bed covered in plastic and scaffolding. The enormous ventilation and air conditioning units that were built into the side of a hill on the island were for the underground tunnels, and there looks to be at least 3 floors under the temple. I have previously mentioned in episode 5, Pizzagate, that hashtag Karis James was posted multiple times on these people's creepy images. And what if the car in Karis James is for Caribbean? And what if the is in Karis James is for Island? And what if the James in Karis James is for Little St. James Island, Epstein's Island? So, when these people were tagging photos and photos of kids with the hashtag Karis James, they were referencing probably what goes on under the temple on Epstein's Island.
Ghislaine Maxwell just got put away for 20 years. So she was supplying kids for all these fucking pedos, right? Where's the list? Is that just gets like, I don't know.
I find it weird that got no coverage, but Johnny Depp and Amber was
everywhere. Yeah, and I'm like, so the list of, politicians and actresses and actors or whatever that they talked about, does that get swept under the rug? Do they not get any time for actually fucking those kids? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, that's weird how that just doesn't compute with me.
But the other interesting thing that just happened is that the Florida Supreme Court has granted Governor Ron DeSantis' request for a grand jury to probe human trafficking and sanctuary cities that aid and abet the coyotes. So that is very interesting. So the grand jury will investigate parents and guardians of unaccompanied alien children who have conspired with traditional criminal organizations to smuggle and endanger their children. It will also investigate organizations who are directly or indirectly working with the TCOs to traffic illegal children into the country. The order includes a host of other offenses it would investigate, including crimes involving narcotics, bribery, computer-related crimes, fraud, and money laundering. The Supreme Court order said a statewide grand jury will be promptly impaneled for 12 months to investigate. Now, think about this. I remember going back to 2020, I think it was like April or May, when Trump was giving a speech and he said, yeah, human trafficking, it's ancient, but it still exists. And it's all over the world, and they use the internet. That's interesting. Why do you think Trump is building the wall? He was shutting down the deep state operation. And now it just so happens that DeSantis, well, they'll be investigating all of this. I wonder what they're going to turn up. That is going to be very interesting. Now, think about what happened to Ghislaine Maxwell. She was thrown to prison for 20 years. Remember, this is just the beginning. And think about where this is going to lead. Remember, we had a couple of posts with Rachel Chandler. And Julian Drum and Lisa Crowley, they started to look at this and looked at what Trump said, what Kash Patel said, and started to put the pieces together. And this is very interesting. And this is what she said on True Social. Yesterday, Julian Drum posted President @Real Donald Trump Cheney typo and wondered if Rachel Chandler was the third co-conspirator with Epstein and Maxwell in the sex trafficking op. Yesterday, Donald J. Trump included Fantasyland in a post. Now, that's very interesting. And then she says, drop 158. What is a honeypot? Define blackmail. How could this be applied? Fantasyland. Who has all the information? No such agency. So then we have Kash Patel. He also put out a post, and there's 3 firecrackers next to what he did. And he says, someone light the boomstick. Okay, so we have 3 firecrackers, and he says, someone light the boomstick. So are they pointing to Ray Chandler? Why do I say this? Well, Julian's Rum on True says the following. Cheney, Chaney, meaning candle maker. Chandler, meaning person. So Trump spelled Cheney wrong. So Chandler, meaning a person involved in making or selling candles. Then, all of a sudden, we have a post by Devin Nunes on True Social. He says, here at True Social, we give free tutorials on carjacking. However, only if you're going to carjack a car with 0 emissions. Now, of course, this is a joke. But the important thing on this photo, you have Trump and Nunes with 2 thumbs up. Behind him, it's a chandelier, and there's 3 candlesticks, which is actually the lights. So is that a hint that Rachel Chandler is going to be coming into the light very, very soon? And in the New York Post article that they link to, and this is about Jeffrey Epstein, down below it says, may this day help you travel from darkness into light. And remember, Trump, he mentioned Fantasyland when he was talking about Cassidy Hutchinson. Her body language is that of a total bull artist. Fantasyland. So Fantasyland, what was that? Saudi Arabia. We have Rachel Chandler. We have children. Ghislaine Maxwell was just arrested. And this seems like it's all leading in that direction. And we'll have to see how that plays out, because we know that there are investigations, there are indictments that are not unsealed. They are private right now.
And here we go.
With the whole place heavily surveilled, Epstein threw sick parties and invited sick guests onto his island, so as to implicate and or blackmail prominent people. What if somebody else got a hold of all the incriminating evidence? What if someone in relation to the Q team has all the information already? What if all the information that compromised many deep state minions was backed up and stored on servers in China? What if this footage was already retrieved by the Q team from these servers in China, which they really thought was safe? I wonder how many politicians and celebrities are caught on tape engaging in depraved acts, which would deserve a military tribunal or a lengthy jail sentence. I think these next Q drops may indicate that this could well be true. Q Post 1991, August 29th, 2018. Who discovered the Chinese link to Hillary Rodham Clinton's servers? Who reported the discovery? Who inserted the discovery into the Presidential Daily Brief? Paper Trail, Q. Q Post 1445, July 11th, 2018. Track all suicides. Example 1. Think Kate Spade. Trace to Children Foundations in New York. Trace to Import-Export. Trace from China, Mexico to Long Beach. Trace sales spin-off of companies. Trace to the Clinton Foundation. Trace to Port Security Clearance Profile Level 5. Who granted? Hussein. Hillary Rodham Clinton. Expect a lot more. Q. Q Post 1980, August 29th, 2018. Why is POTUS pushing the FBI and DOJ on this issue? What if access to these servers was deliberate? What if this is known within the FBI and DOJ? If known, why no action? How might this discredit the FBI's investigation into Hillary Rodham Clinton's emails? How might this open the door to Wiener, Huma, Hillary Rodham Clinton? Logical thinking. Why was the information on Wiener's laptop in the first place? D5. Q. Q Post 866, March the 6th, 2018. So much is open source. So much left to be connected. Why are the children in Haiti in high demand? How are they smuggled out? Adoption process? Local staging port friendly to Clinton Foundation? Track donations? Cross against location relative to Haiti? Think logically. The choice to know will be yours. Q. From files of evidence found in the Jeffrey Epstein case, to computer files and evidence found on Anthony Weiner's laptop, and the fake President of the United States crackhead son Hunter Biden's laptop, Rachel Chandler is knee-deep in it, and the elites have been trying to cover all of this up. All of these people are connected, and they're all very sick and completely evil. We are the ones that have to stop this by telling everyone what they are up to. When the big arrests start to happen, people will be in shock as they watch the news break on their TV screens, whilst anons will rejoice knowing the deep state cabal's pedos will finally be exposed to the public.
Jesus Christ, great.
So I do hope that people are starting to see why the media brainwashed everyone to think that there was nothing to the Q drops, and everyone paying attention and following the drops were all in a crazy cult. If there was nothing to worry about for the Mockingbird media, then why the need to censor anyone who talks about the Q subject like we have never seen before? What is coming that these people who run our media are so afraid of? I now want to quickly run through a few other Q drops that are relevant to Jeffrey Epstein. Q Post 100, November the 5th, 2017. Satan. Who follows? What political leaders worship Satan? What does an upside-down cross represent? Who wears openly? Why? Who is she connected to? Why is this relevant? Spirit cooking. What does spirit cooking represent? Cult. What is a cult? Who is worshipped? Snow White. Godfather 3. Speed. Q. Q Post 133, November the 11th, 2017. Hard to swallow. Important to progress. Who are the puppet masters? House of Saud. 6+++. 4 trillion plus. Rothschild. 6++. 2 trillion plus. Soros. 6+. 1 trillion plus. Focus on above 3. Public wealth disclosures false. Many governments of the world feed the eye. Think slush funds feeder. Think war feeder. Think environmental pacts feeder. Triangle has 3 sides. Eye of Providence. Follow the bloodlines. What is the keystone? Does Satan exist? Does the thought of Satan exist? Who worships Satan? What is a cult? Epstein Island. What is a temple? What occurs in a temple? Worship? Why is the temple on top of a mountain? How many levels might exist below? What is the significance of the colors, design, and symbol above the dome? Why is this relevant? Who are the puppet masters? Have the puppet masters traveled to this island? When? How often? Why? Vladimir Putin says, the New World Order worships Satan. Q. Q Post 3371, July the 8th, 2019. Sessions began the Epstein investigation. When that is revealed, those who doubted may see the light. The wheels of justice turn slow, but when they turn, they are powerful. 10 times the speed now underway. We are back online, Pelosi attempted block. Q. Then we see Q replying to an anon on the board saying, sometimes you need to take one for the team publicly before you are vindicated as a hero. Q. Q Post 3385, July the 9th, 2019. You didn't think the Epstein investigation began a few months ago, did you? It was all under the direction and oversight of AG Jeff Sessions. Expect a lot more to become public. Unsealing. Q. Q Post 3428, from July 14th, 2019. In this post, Q highlights the New York Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children. Q Post 4565, from July the 2nd, 2020. Possible Epstein was a puppet, not the main persons of interest. Financed by who or what foreign entities? Number 1. Primary. Gather blackmail unelected politicians, dignitaries, royalty, Hollywood influencers, Wall Street and other financial top-level players, other high-profile industry-specific people, etc. Number 2. Feed an addiction. Controllable. Maxwell family background. Robert Maxwell, history, intel, agency, wealth, class 1 to 99. Sometimes it's the people in the background that are of greater significance. Q. Q Post 4623, August 19th, 2020. Epstein Island. Who owns the surrounding islands? Close proximity, unique skill sets of Maxwell, submarine pilot, unusual, helicopter pilot? What benefit might that serve? Q. Q Post 3799, January 28th, 2020. You didn't think we highlighted Epstein for no reason, did you? Those who were once protected are no longer. Timing is everything. Hunters become prey. Q. Q Post 344, December 14th. 2017. They all belong to the same sick cult.
That's very, very important for people to understand. I mean, Satanism is a real faith. Do you know that some satanic church in the U.S. just sued the Supreme Court for the right because they took away their right to do satanic abortions? Yeah. Katy Perry doing a music video about cannibalism where she's being cooked and prepared to be eaten. Okay, these people are crazy. Maria Abramovich holding up a severed goat's head and doing spirit cooking and bathing people in blood and having fake, cannibal dinners where all these Hollywood celebrities are standing around taking a piece of the fake, sort of body and eating it. And they're drowning in fake blood. I mean, I'm sorry, but these are the crazy people. John Podesta's art that he poses in front of in his office or his home or whatever it is, you can find those pictures on the internet. He's insane. The people painting kids in their underwear in different forms of ritual sacrifice or with blood or with the handkerchief that is, this handkerchief is part of the map that's meant to be your signature in pedophilia. These are the crazy people. We're not crazy for talking about it. We're not crazy for wanting the truth. We're not crazy for wanting to know who were the people that Ghislaine Maxwell was supplying children to.
So that's it for this episode. Remember everybody, please share this video with absolutely
everyone. What do you mean everyone?
I hope you have enjoyed this presentation. God bless you all, and I do thank you for your support. It means a lot. Ladies and gentlemen, this is MrTruthBomb out.
Now this is a tale the rats and snakes have feared for a long, long time. There's 747 sits, then it makes an uphill climb. It looks like it no time. The first mate and the skipper too will be put to their deaths. We'll make the others comfortable with an epic mass arrest. Electric chairs for every guest. Ouch. No phones, no bribes, no more cigars, not a single hung jury. Trump promised us he'd do so. Now Hillary's in Camp Deep on Guantanamo Bay TV. So join us here, it's big, my friend, you're sure to get a smile. So many slimy rats and snakes here on Castro's Isle.
Don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell for more must-see videos.